Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host right here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Freedom Radio Hour, 91.6 FM. You know, that's a mouthful to say.
It is.
But I'm sitting up here, and we have a fantastic day here in the States. So, Adam, let's jump right into it. What's going on? Well, first, tell them something about
Yes, there's so
here.
much going on right now. But let us take a moment and let our viewers and our listeners know that the Freedom Radio Hour is here, not only giving you fantastic music, but we're here to be your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. Tonight, we're talking about a brief history of piracy. Why? Because we are discussing the ever-evolving world of music piracy. So we got to go way back into time. Because and really, like, you have to go back to really the 14th century to get the first times that we were hearing about piracy. And that happened by folks they called the Sea People. They were of the Aegean and Mediterranean seas, and they were intercepting and exploiting goods that were in transit. So they were intercepting shipments. And so this is the first instances that we can recall as a society where we see piracy, actually physical
And that's
pirates.
what I'm going to say, hence the word piracy.
Yes, piracy, right? So this is 14th century. So you go 400 years later till about the 18th, 19th century in terms of music piracy. You look at Beethoven. See, Beethoven is a very famous composer who dealt mostly in sheet music, and even he was plagued with piracy back then. See, they were taking his sheet music and making unauthorized copies and distributing it amongst their own folks or what have you in terms of a black market. So these are the first times that we see music piracy in the 18th, early 19th century. And right around this time, 1877 is the invention of the phonographs, that's vinyl. And then later on in the 1930s, you have cassette tape. So now through time, piracy always sort of went hand in hand with the evolution of what we consume music from. So the different mediums, there still was bootlegging happening and still was piracy, right? So now, through the 70s and 80s, we really dealt with a lot of vinyl. Did you ever have any of your stuff bootlegged illegally?
Yes.
Was it done on vinyl? Or
No, it was not done on vinyl.
In the digital age.
In the digital
But it was
realm.
done on, and how did you come to discover that this was happening?
Somebody hit me up and said, Eddie, is this your song? And a matter of fact, it was one of the radios, internet stations, Cyber Jams Radio. Matter of fact, somebody took one of my songs, I Know a Man.
Okay. And what did they do?
They added some music to the original music and put it out as their own.
Like, okay. So did you discover this because somebody hit you up about it?
Well, because they had the nerve to send the mix back to Sammy Rock.
Shout out to Sammy Rock and Cyber Jams. But yeah, so this is really interesting that you had sort of a community of people that were willing to be sort of the whistleblowers,
Watchdogs.
the watchdogs of this. But you're lucky because many people don't have that. I want to behoove you to consider, if you don't, I think you do have this, set up Google alerts. Search that out, Google alerts, and you can insert several keywords, your name, maybe the name of your release or something. I'm talking to artists or people that release product. And that's a good way for you to know if somebody uploads your content. At the very least, it'll send you a little email, a notice that the material has been uploaded or is available now on something. You could look at several times. I'm like, what site is this? And I had to issue a takedown because I know it was some illegal website. All right, so we're going back to piracy. And what we discovered was this evolution that happens over time. The more that bootlegging and piracy evolved, the more that the music industry tended to fight against it. Do you remember when CDs came out after vinyl and tape, and then there was a problem with CDs that you could take it and rip the music out?
Once you were able to record on CDs.
Yes, exactly. What did they do? I remember a few things when it came to theft in the store.
Hence all you DJs out there making CDs without getting permission from the artists and selling them on the streets. That's bootlegging. That's piracy.
Thank you. And it's very much as, and that's really the offline piracy. That's almost easier to manage, even though you can't fathom. That's almost easier to manage than what you see today, which is the digitization of music created a whole new pool for piracy and bootleg to exist. So it wasn't even the random vinyl or digital downloads that contain pirated information. But now you're talking about a whole pool of it. In particular, we talked once upon a time about the Pirate Bay. In short, they're kind of like a Google search engine for all things pirated. And they were able to function for a while until they were taken down at the end of 2014. But it doesn't mean that they haven't come back up in some new forms, and that alternative versions of the Pirate Bay are you seeing pop up. Especially now with the advent of more media, TV, and video, you're seeing these kinds of pirated, bootlegging websites all over the place. Snatching crazy amounts. So what I didn't realize is that not only did we have to contend with physical product, vinyl, CD, and such, we're going to have to, and not only deal with digital download as a pirated kind of thing, now we have to deal with streaming. Can you believe that? We're going to take a break and come back when we discuss the first time that lawsuits are ever being generated around unauthorized streaming. We'll talk about it when we come right back. Where?
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, Freedom Radio.
Come right back, y'all.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back to 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Nicholas, and I'm sitting up here with my wonderful co-host,
Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right here on the Freedom Radio Hour, with your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. So what's happening right now in the music business is the first ever lawsuit filed in federal court in California that charges a website called youtube-mp3.org with its first ever lawsuit around illegal streaming. They're calling this stream ripping, which I find fascinating for a few reasons, but let's break down what this is. So what is stream ripping? First of all, let's talk about the lawsuit. So the lawsuit was filed in federal court in California, like I said, and the plaintiffs are UMG, that's Universal Music Group.
one of them greedy music companies.
Thank you. Capitol Records, Warner Brothers.
All the big all the big record companies.
Yeah, check it out. Warner Music Latina, Sony Music Latin, Arista Records, Atlantic Records, let's see, Elektra, LaFace. So all of the WEA International, and Zamba. So all of these are the heaviest hitters that have seen their material being placed on this website. So what is this website? youtube-mp3.org, they're alleging, is a website like the Pirate Bay, where you could place the link of the YouTube clip that you come across. And what it does is allow you to take that material and download it onto your computer. The thing I find very fascinating about this, well, first of all, it's been happening. They have millions of users and visitors per month, this particular website, according to the lawsuit that's been filed. And what these labels are coming for are monetary damages. So they want money for damages that occurred by virtue of having this website be in existence. I find it fascinating, though, like I'm saying, because in house music, we like our house music a certain kind of way, and our target audience, by and large, are DJs. And what we've noticed in using Bandcamp in particular, Bandcamp has a philosophy that allows the person to stream the entire song prior to purchasing. So you can audition the entire track and listen to it in its entirety and then opt to listen. Initially, you could listen in an unlimited way. And Bandcamp's philosophy, when you go to their frequently asked questions, is to say, well, we want the user to fall in love with your music, and that if they're going to buy it, they will buy it. Let them listen to it and stream it for free. But in house music, you know that with DJs, all they need to do is stream that material one time or maybe twice, and they'll have a software or device to capture that stream as it's streaming through, and then they have it for their party. To Eddie's point, the track that he was talking about that was taken from him and used in an unauthorized way was something that was broadcast on a radio program on internet radio. Now, the streaming quality is usually not great when you're talking about broadcast radio, for example. So somebody took that anyway and made some sort of clip out of that, their own sort of edit, and added elements to call their own. So this is just from streaming the outfit. So no one paid Eddie for that track at that time. They just took it, ripped it, and did their thing to it.
And sent it out as their own.
That's right. So YouTube-mp3.org makes it possible for you to insert a YouTube link for a clip, and then it converts it into a download.
I'm gonna get that app.
Well, you can't because now they done shut it down.
Oh, no wonder. A friend of mine sent me something for a YouTube link. But you know what? I remember years ago, Real Player. You used to have your Real Player go to pull one of those YouTube clips and download it into Real Player, and Real Player would turn it into an MP3. So this is nothing new.
Right.
You know, and that was a couple of years. Do people still use Real Player?
Yeah, I think they do. But I do remember, speaking of Real Player, that back I used to work very heavily at an old disco label, and some of the material we reissued because maybe there was a version that never came out, or maybe there was the digital version never materialized, so that we then put it out. So we would offer only snippets, about a minute or a minute and a half. And I noticed that even though we placed it into a real media file where you would only able to stream and not download the snippet, it didn't stop DJs from taking that and creating loops for that minute and 30 seconds for a few, and making, say, 6 minutes worth of loops and calling it their own. So the DJ Eddie Nicholas presents this disco classic or whatever it was. So I noticed even earlier on, like you're saying, that Real Player and these devices never seem to understand the problem with streaming and capturing the material to then own it on your own desktop. So YouTube-mp3.org has been shut down, but this lawsuit has been filed in federal court by all of these labels because essentially they're kind of like a pirate bay for stream ripping, which is like another new phenomenon. Can you imagine? It's almost like you can't put on anything because they're just going to take it anyway.
But you know what? Those companies need to be cut and drawn and quartered because they're ripping artists off every single day, and it's not like the money that they're trying to recoup is going to trickle down to the artists that actually made the money. They just want those monies to pay off their corporations and whoever they're what do you call the people that
they're middle people,
the liaisons,
or whatever.
The liaisons, or they're the principal people that have the investors.
Yes, because we talk about this very at length about the importance of appeasing the shareholder. So if you're a UMG or Warner Music or what have you, it's always better to say, hey, Frank Ocean, our latest artist, has garnered millions of downloads. He's #1, as opposed to the reality sometimes, which is is a fraction of that amount in reality. They just inflate the numbers. They cook the books to make a perception, you know. But anyway, let's take another break. When we come back, we're talking about a company and whether you have rights about whether the company can administer your mechanical rights. I'll talk about what I mean when we come back here on the Freedom Radio Hour. Where?
91.6 FM.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio, 91.6 FM, and on the web at dwobmusicradio.com. You're deep in the zone right here at the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music business news and trends from around the globe. I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Mr.
Eddie Nicholas. What a beautiful people. We're going to get back into what we were talking about.
But you had a question.
Yeah. Just for clarification, when you talked about the YouTube mechanisms with that lawsuit, is that part of YouTube, the YouTube that we know is that big conglomerate, or is this just the name that people have given this entity as not to confuse YouTube, the big conglomerate YouTube, with this YouTube?
So the answer is no, it is not part of the official YouTube. It's a pirated website.
Okay.
So it's using the name YouTube in an unauthorized way.
Okay, so YouTube could actually go after them as well.
Exactly, but right now what you're looking at is the first lawsuit around stream ripping that are being initiated by labels and not necessarily YouTube, because don't forget.
And that's the thing, it's not artists, it's not the artists themselves.
The labels that
these
represent those
huge
artists.
labels that represent those labels. But again, you know, as we said, it's all about the investors and not about the artists.
That's
and that's
right.
part of the problem, because, you know, you may go after that money and you might get it. But at the same token, is it going to trickle down to who it's supposed to go to? You know, I didn't mean to cut you up, but I
No.
you
It was
that.
right on. But the other point I want to make too, since we're discussing it, is that YouTube, don't forget, when you sign up, they have an indemnification clause. That's a fancy way of saying, well, you're going to put up what you're going to put up, but nobody can come for us for damages
because you're responsible for putting up your own material.
Exactly. All that we're going to do, YouTube, is remove the content and maybe deactivate your account. But that's all that we're going to do. No one can come and sue us for damages because you're saying by clicking here to agree that whatever you put up has been cleared or is original in content. So they're kind of safe. So it's not them initiating the lawsuit for that very reason, I argue. But we'll find out over time, because it's only a matter of time before this website builds onto another, because I have other questions. Like if you go on Spotify, they have the free account version. That's the free tier before they ask you to buy into it. Can you stream rip there?
Well, I don't see why not. You should not be able to. Anything that comes across the internet, if you have the proper technology, you should be able to rip anything that you want. And we see people doing it every single day, or we hear about people doing it.
And we don't seem to have any rights. Like, for example, I got a letter very recently from a company called Music Reports. I've never heard of them before. The letter indicated that on behalf of Amazon Digital Services, one of my aggregators, because a lot of my material is available on Amazon, they're telling me that on behalf of Amazon that they are administering the mechanical rights. And so they want to introduce themselves to me. They're encouraging me to set up an account with their website, and that I can opt in or out of receiving paper statements instead of me going online and reviewing the statements that way. But I had a few issues. My first problem is I already have a Sound Exchange account. I have a CSAC account.
To track your music.
I have my ASCAP account. Yes, I have my own website. I try to track as much as I can on my own. Why is it that there's yet another company coming to let me know that I didn't authorize them to do this, but they are administering the mechanical royalties from the purchases through the Amazon Digital Service?
So now you have this music company chipping into your money. You have Amazon. You have Amazon chipping into your money. You're already getting 0.4% of a penny, if even that much anymore. So now your earnings as far as royalties coming to you have since been stripped and cut into again. That's how I view it.
I view it the same way. And I tell you what, when we talked about our Frank Ocean story and how much these labels and such are inflating the numbers to make it seem like they've gone number one or not or what have you, I think that's applicable when you think about how they're dicing the dollar. See, we're talking about how can we get closer to a full dollar, right? How can we get closer to a full dollar? Okay, maybe we'll go independent and they'll take less of the percentage so we get most of that dollar, maybe 85 cents, maybe 80 cents. But you're right, Eddie. There's something going on here because it seems like everybody chips away and there's only but $1.
Thank you.
So how far down does it go before the rest of it actually comes to us? We don't really know because of the problem with tracking and how much is taken out before we actually get the amount. It's not 1 + 1 = 2 anymore. It's that new math, that Common Core revision, you know? It's all of that seems to be like changing the way you can't even, like I said, you can't just deduce it using math to figure out, okay, I can only get 60 cents on the dollar because PayPal takes a minute, maybe Bandcamp takes their some, Amazon, like we said, Music Reports, Sound Exchange. Okay, how is this going to work? How am I going to make any money at all? And it seems like we're still in the dark. That's why I think here is a place where you can discover that there's all these companies coming up. Revelator, remember that STEM company? They're all trying to figure out a central place for you to manage your royalties.
And what was that company that was up years ago? LimeWire or something like that?
Yes.
Was it LimeWire?
Yep, LimeWire.
And they snatched that down because that was another one where you could have music played and rip that music from
it. That's it's so true. All of these problems have not been new. This is from a while ago. Kazaa, LimeWire, Napster. I mean, you can go on and a SoulSeek for dance music. I remember that was a big website at one point.
And and even further back to that, because part of the history, when you were talking about the early history of ripping, we forgot the implementation from the Germans with the development of the MP3, which basically just opened up the whole thing.
Right, but that's what I was talking about when we talked about the digitization of music, how it opened up yet another pool that we were not equipped to handle, nor could we manage. We couldn't manage it when it was offline, but when it became online, and in this medium that we didn't know anything about how to really manage, they ran with it. And I'm talking the tech geeks, the hackers, those that are monopolizing and monetizing off the backs of these digital downloads and the music, because they figured out ways to create these crawls, central crawls, search engine crawls and such to make the most dollar, because somebody's getting paid to make these things possible, whether they're legal or not.
Oh yes. And the money's got to come from someplace, so they're taking it from the public.
That's right. So we'll find out more. I did sign up with musicreports.com and I'll report back any findings. That's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Freedom Radio Hour. Definitely check out my man right here, EddieNicholas.com, for the one-time single as well as his You Left Me 2016 remixes. Fire! Gotta check those out. Also check out DJAdamCruz.com, the website for your man right here. My album Freedom LP is available now. And also, we want to keep you guys abreast. I know we were mentioning that Eddie's project, his Do You Want to Dance LP, we were hoping to release in September, but we are planning to release it in the coming weeks. We're going to keep you abreast, and we're going to discuss why we decided to delay the project, because I want to be as transparent as I can with our listeners, because I want them to know some of the things we deal with as artists and how we make things happen or not. Thank you for listening. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. See you next time.
Peace out. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.